Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming along this week on Firewood at the Furnace. I've got something in store for you today that I want to talk about because I learned something this week. Something that I had never seen. Maybe I've seen it before, but I didn't realize what I was looking at. Today we're going to talk about when sawmill logs become firewood logs. Now, you know that I have been doing a lot of work with the grapple truck and taking sawmill logs from these tree jobs to the sawmill, and then what's not sawmill logs we take to either Chaz's yard or to my yard for firewood. Well, last week we were on a job and we had some what we thought were going to be really good sawmill logs. Oak, big diameter, and really straight. Come to find out, they weren't sawmill logs at all. So today I've got the 32-inch bar on the 500i. We're going to cut that up, and I'm going to take you over here and explain to you what happened, what we had going on, and why it's now going to be firewood. So stick around. So here we are over next to the axis now. If you remember last couple weeks, I've had a bunch of old dead ash logs laying here that I was brought in using for bundlewood. Well, I was in the process of getting all that cleared up because I wanted to open this area up right here so I could start processing this pile of logs over here behind me off of the EVO and have space to work around it with the IBC totes. Well, I opened the space up, and the next day we ended up with these logs here. So these logs here are every bit of 30 to 33 inches in diameter. This is oak. You can see they are straight and they are big. But what should have been sawmill logs, you can see we were cutting them to length for sawmill purposes until we got them down and we discovered this. So when we got these trees down, Chaz called me and knew we were close to getting them loaded up, and he asked me how the logs looked. They looked like pretty decent sawmill logs. I ended up having to FaceTime him to show him what we're looking at right now. And he says, oh man, they got windshake. And I had never heard that term before, windshake. So at first thought, trying to use some common sense, you would think that windshake means that the separation there between the heartwood and the sapwood was caused by the wind blowing hard and basically separating the two sections of the wood. But actually, windshake is not necessarily from the wind. It forms inside the log while the tree is still standing. It doesn't normally happen when you're milling it or drying it. Drying wood will cause cracks and stuff, but it won't cause what you're looking at right here. But wind isn't the main cause. Heavy winds can make existing windshake worse, but what causes it is rapid temperature changes, frost damage, growth stress inside the tree, and strong wind flexing a tree that already has these weaknesses. Sometimes natural aging in over mature trees can cause this, but it reduces the structural strength of the wood, obviously, because the fibers aren't bonded tightly in the wood. But for firewood, it's not a big deal, but for sawmilling, it's a no-go. They're not going to pay you much for this, and it's a shame because these logs would have been worth a lot more at the mill than they're going to be worth in firewood. But just due to strictly the diameter of this wood, we're going to get a lot of really nice firewood out of this, a lot of nice barkless firewood out of this. But we're going to need the big bar, and I don't know if I'm going to split it on the axis or the 1222 yet. It might be some really good box wedge stuff, but we'll try them both, maybe see what we think. But that's what's in store today. We're going to cut these logs up with the 32-inch bar and see how much we can get done. Well, that's an older chain on that 32-inch bar, and I did sharpen it before I came over, but I feel like it should be cutting a little bit better than it is. But it's a lot of wood, it's a lot of bar. Here's a cookie we cut off. Just figure we can check this out, and there you go. Fell right out. The heartwood separated from the sapwood. We've got a donut, like I said, but all the wood is hard. There's no rot, there's no punk or anything in that, so it's just the heartwood separated from the sapwood, and that's what we're going to be dealing with. Well, I manhandled the first round over here to the axis, and I got the whole round up on the log lift. I'll show you that here in a second. But the center of it, when it came out, just to give you an idea how big just the center is, I mean, that's a nice round for the box wedge right there, about that size. So the round is well wider than the table on the axis, but the axis is splitting it with no problem. But I'm just curious to how many rounds it's going to take to finish filling up that IVC tote over there. I think 1 or 2 rounds will do it. So there's probably between 2 and 3 cord of wood laying here just in these 5 logs. But we'll get this split up here. We'll get another round on here. I'll show you the log lift pulling it up onto the table. So that's just 2 rounds, and you remember on the back side of that tote wasn't all the way full, so I topped off the back side, filled the front side. So just 2 rounds fills half of that tote. So obviously 4 rounds will fill a complete tote. So now we'll see how the 1222 does with the box wedge. We'll test the log lift on that machine as well, and tackle this round right here. Well, after that, I think the choice is clear which machine is best suited for this job. Now, I did this on both the Axis and the 1222 on purpose. And that's because a lot of times when I'm at these shows or people come here for the fellowship or send me emails, a question I see a lot is, How much will the log lift handle? Is it going to lift the big rounds that I have? Because I need something that will get the wood up to my splitter. And the question is easily answered here now. I've never had anything that these log lifts would not pick up and put on the machine for me. That is probably the biggest, heaviest stuff that I've ever tried. I wish I had a way to weigh it so I could tell you how much it weighed. But that is wet oak, large diameter, and the machines pick it up without a problem. Doesn't even struggle. So the box wedge, you can see there, whatever you put in a box wedge, if you put good wood in, you get good wood out. If you put junk in, you get junk out. And you can see that nice straight grained oak came through there beautifully. Really good looking firewood. These logs are going to produce arguably some of the prettiest firewood that I think I've ever made. Now, I've had some nice straight grained oak and even ash before, but whoever ends up with this firewood in their wood stove is going to be very, very happy. Well, there's what we got out of that first round that we put through the box wedge. A little more than half of one row on the tote. There's 3 more rounds sitting right over there from that first log that we cut. So I think if I split those, we'll fill this tote up, and I'm going to do that right now. Well, there we go. That's the last of those 3 rounds, and you can see 4 rounds total filled that tote up. So the 1222 is the machine with the box wedge for this job. That's what I'll be processing the rest of this big windshake oak on here this week. So that's it for today. Thanks for coming along. I learned something, maybe somebody else did too. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you back here next Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. Take care.